Welcome back, class. I'm Dr. Chem, and man, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. Get ready, because we are diving headfirst into the ultimate forensic tool of electrochemistry, stripping voltammetry. If you've ever wondered exactly how scientists manage to find a chemical needle in a molecular haystack, well, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
So here's the big question we're tackling today. How in the world do we detect a single microscopic drop of a toxic metal that's completely hidden within an absolute ocean of complex biological or environmental data? We're talking about uncovering invisible traces of elements like lead or mercury. And the scary thing is, unlike organic pollutants, these metals just don't decay over time. They just sit there, silently threatening our biology and our environment. It's a massive challenge for sure, but chemistry has a pretty brilliant solution.
All right, here's our lecture syllabus for today. We're going to start with hunting invisible metals, learn the electrochemical dance, cover the big three techniques, discuss green chemistry, and finish up with some real-world medical applications.
Section 1. Hunting invisible heavy metals.
Now, you probably know that some metals, like zinc and copper, are actually essential for us at trace levels, right? But they become highly toxic if those levels spike. On the flip side, heavy metals like cadmium, mercury, and lead, they have absolutely zero known biological benefits. They are purely hazardous. And this brings us to the real crux of the problem. Because environmental metal pollution doesn't just naturally degrade, these heavy metals bioaccumulate in complex biological matrices, things like our blood, sweat, and urine. This continuous, looming toxic threat creates an intense demand for analytical techniques that are incredibly compact, easily automated, and just wildly sensitive. I mean, we need to monitor these things at the parts per billion or even parts per trillion range. To actually pull that off, modern electrochemistry relies heavily on miniaturization, using these tiny microelectrodes to drastically improve our signal-to-noise ratios.
Moving to Section 2. The two-step electrochemical dance.
Okay, so this technique takes some, frankly, pretty intimidating physical chemistry and just chunks it down into a highly elegant two-part process. Here's how the dance works. Step 1 is accumulation, or preconcentration. We apply a constant potential to our working electrode in a stirred solution to deliberately deposit our target analyte right onto it. Then, step 2 is stripping. We stop stirring the solution, and we apply a linear potential sweep in the exact opposite direction to essentially strip that plated material back off the electrode, continuously measuring the current as we do it. If you're having a little trouble visualizing this, just think of a sponge. Think of the accumulation step as a sponge soaking up water. By holding that potential in a stirred solution, our electrode acts exactly like a sponge, soaking up and pre-concentrating those invisible metal toxins from the sample over time. Then, the stripping step is basically like squeezing that sponge out into a measuring cup. We force the metals back out, which gives us this incredibly precise, magnified reading of exactly what was hiding inside the sample.
Now, when we look at the visual output of that stripping step, it's actually kind of counterintuitive. As the potential is scanned to strip out the metal, the oxidation of that metal releases electrons, which our instruments register as a sharp peak in the current. But because this particular scan, Anodic Stripping Voltammetry, operates by scanning in the anodic or oxidizing direction, scientific convention actually requires us to plot these peaks upside down during a backward scan. It definitely looks backwards at first glance, but to an analytical chemist, those inverted peaks are the glorious signature of a detected metal.
Section 3. The Big Three. ASV, CSV, and AdSV.
So, now that we've mastered the basic two-step dance, let's differentiate the three main methodologies used by analytical chemists today. First up, we have a classic showdown: Anodic Stripping Voltammetry, or ASV, versus Cathodic Stripping Voltammetry, or CSV. ASV is pretty much the absolute gold standard for trace metals. It uses a negative potential to reduce and deposit metal ions, and then an anodic sweep to oxidize and strip them out. CSV is the exact opposite. It's used specifically for ionic species that actually form insoluble salts on the electrode during an oxidizing deposition phase. Then it uses a negative cathodic sweep to reduce and strip them back off.
And then we had the third pillar, Adsorptive Stripping Voltammetry, or ASV. This one brilliantly illustrates just how versatile this whole field is. Instead of using electrolysis to plate a metal, ASV relies on controlled interfacial accumulation, which is basically just non-Faradaic absorption directly onto the working electrode surface. This follows the Langmuir absorption isotherm, which simply means the molecules form a single uniform layer on the surface. This is our go-to avenue for detecting trace levels of surface-active organic compounds that don't really amalgamate well, things like cardiac glycosides, riboflavin, or even giant biological macromolecules like DNA.
Okay, before we leave the mechanics entirely, we've got to geek out for a second on square wave voltammetry. By combining a square wave and a staircase wave, we get these blazing fast, incredibly highly sensitive voltammograms. I mean, an entire 1-volt scan can happen in just half a second. It's so sensitive because this specific wave pattern effectively rejects the capacitive, non-Faradaic background current. Essentially, it filters out all that background electrical noise, isolating just the specific signal we want to see.
Section 4. The toxic mercury problem in green chemistry.
For decades, the absolute standard tool for all of these techniques was the hanging mercury drop electrode. It was universally beloved by chemists because a single drop of mercury provides an incredibly reproducible, pristine surface for the reduction and oxidation of metals. But there is a glaring, massive problem here. Mercury is highly toxic. Using it creates this terrible paradox where we're literally using a toxic heavy metal to detect other toxic heavy metals, resulting in really dangerous disposal issues for the lab.
But thankfully, we've got some serious green chemistry heroes stepping up to the plate to replace mercury. First, carbon nanotubes. These are fantastic because they offer a massive surface area and a lightning-fast electron transfer rate. Second, bismuth electrodes. Bismuth is essentially non-toxic, and it has this magical ability to form cold melt alloys with heavy metals. Basically, it behaves very much like mercury but without the poison. These green materials are a total game changer because they allow us to maintain those incredible part per trillion detection limits without requiring any of that toxic disposal.
Section 5. Real-world medical applications. Let's take everything we've just learned, the pre-concentration, the stripping, the green materials, and transition from academic theory to life-saving reality. I want to look at a genuinely fascinating clinical study straight from the source literature. Researchers used Anodic Stripping Voltammetry as a tool for forensic medical monitoring. Their goal? To directly detect and quantify trace amounts of copper and lead hidden inside human blood serum samples specifically taken from female cancer patients. They used this exact electrochemical technique to monitor the toxic pathological effects directly in complex biological fluids. Taking a look at the voltagrammograms generated from those cancerous serum samples, on the x-axis we have our potential sweep, and the y-axis is measuring those tiny anodic peak currents in microamps. Notice how beautifully the AdSV technique isolates the distinct, unmistakable signals for both lead and copper, even when it's operating within a messy, complex human blood sample.
And here is the exact parameter that made the whole thing work. The researchers experimented with accumulation potentials ranging from negative 0.6 all the way to positive 1.0 volts. But they discovered that the absolute maximum microamp response, meaning the highest possible sensitivity for extracting these specific metals from the serum, occurred at exactly negative 0.2 volts. By dialing in that specific potential, they completely optimized the sponge to soak up the maximum amount of toxins.
Conclusion: the future of in situ monitoring.
So class, what you really need to take away from this is that stripping voltammetry isn't just some neat little lab trick. By combining non-toxic green materials like bismuth and carbon nanotubes with this extreme electrochemical sensitivity, we're taking these sensors out of the laboratory and bringing them straight into the real world. We can use flow-through systems to monitor environmental water instantly or create portable life-saving sensors for clinical diagnostics. We literally now possess the ability to easily detect a single drop of poison in an absolute ocean of data. So as we continue to miniaturize this ultra-sensitive technology onto microchips and wearable sensors, what invisible targets will we uncover inside our own biology next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I will see you in the next one.